coverage is getting better each and every week. I think the players are figuring it out.
I think there's a huge edge in this thing for good putters and good short game wizards.
Dr. Shapinski. Wants to do it again. Yes!
Welcome back there, Mr. Joe Idone. It's time for the TGL show. I'm your host, PGA professional Keith Stewart. The man there to my left, of course, is Joe Idone, resident TGL expert. Pleasure to see you, my friend. We're heading into match 5. We're around the first corner, and we're not around the second corner yet, but it's not mid-season. But hey, man, you know what? We're about to hit in our stride.
Great to see you tonight, Keith. As always, I'm excited to talk through match 5. We finally got a couple of teams with a match under their belt, so we have a little data to go upon for this season. Excited. Jupiter Lynx, obviously a quick turnaround this week after playing last Tuesday. Both you and I will be there in the SoFi Center this Tuesday night, so excited to see you there and break down the match here tonight with you as well.
You mentioned the data there because these guys have played a couple of matches. Before we get into this, I go down the rundown, everything we're doing today. Something kind of like piqued my interest this week because you and I, we're similar in the way that we approach betting TGL, but I think that a lot of people that are watching this show, maybe they wonder, is TGL leaning into wagering? They know that you and I are both wagering guys, so like the Sony Open kicked off this week, and that's kind of what led me down this road. Do you kind of bet TGL the same way that you bet the Sony Open and the PGA Tour, or do you approach it kind of differently? Could you break it down for me a little bit?
I would say very differently, Keith. I try to do my best to look at it through a completely different lens almost. And it's hard, even when analyzing some of the PGA Tour stuff this week, as we did my show as well, just trying to sort of dump some of that stuff that you see inside the simulator, inside the SoFi Center from what is actually out there on tour. There are a number of factors that make this so unique. Some people, I know us, kind of fall into this boat, love the idea of the 4-day sweat that is the PGA Tour.
Oh, yeah.
But, others out there, Keith, need a little instant gratification. And I think this is great for this. Bets are settled within 2 hours of the match kicking off. The account is either flushed down or replenished, and you're on to the next bet. The other thing is kind of, in betting the PGA Tour, what I've noticed, Keith, is with the amount of tools and optimizers and model building software out there now at the PGA Tour level, it's everywhere. So some of that sharper edge that guys like us maybe had 3, 4, 5 years ago has been diminished to a degree because it's so everyone's kind of flooded into the space there. TGL is like the new frontier. And part of the reason we wanted to start this show in the first place is because our experience, our knowledge, our expertise in being there regarding the gameplay, kind of give us an edge there and make this show educational and find edges that others may not really understand that even exists. So those are kind of some of the things that make it different for me. What about yourself?
I tell you what, you pretty much hit on everything that I love about it. The only thing I could really add is that when someone comes up to me on the street and they say, "Hey, Keith, read the line," they're like, teach me how to bet on golf. And I said, well, the U.S. Open's coming. Here's 156 guys. And then, they're like, whoa. Yeah. When it comes down to TGL, this week we've got LA versus Jupiter Lynx. It's like the NFL playoffs. It's like pick a team, run with it. We'll give you reasons why, no different than, the guys on ESPN or, one of those preview shows. So for me, getting people involved in betting on golf, this has been like just this gateway, this wonderful entrance for people to start to learn the names and the stars. And then, which a little bit of you touched on, but I'm going to add to it, is that it's really a live betting event. You and I, we always post our picks. We are in the SoFi Center already. It's during warmups. We're looking at the guys warming up. We're looking at the course. We're really breaking down the teams. So, I think it's really helping people understand and get involved in golf wagering, but then it's also helping them understand just the general aspects of live betting. So I love it. And that's why we do what we do here on the TGL show. And if you're new to the TGL show, we're going to talk about takeaways from match 4 from last week, Jupiter and New York. Then we're going to go into Joe's power rankings for the 6 teams in season 2. We're going to give you a preview for the next match, which is, Tuesday night in the SoFi Center. We've got Jupiter Lynx versus the LA Golf Club. And then the last thing we'll do is we're going to give you our leans for the match, for any props that we might be thinking of going into it. And then we're out of here, folks. It's a quick one. And let's just start with the takeaways there, Joe. Match 4, you were in the arena. You were in the SoFi Center. You saw New York go down early, then come like steamrolling back. I don't want to steal any of your thunder. Where are you taking the takeaways from last Tuesday?
I got a couple on the match itself, Keith, but before we even get to that, it's just so cool and continues to fascinate me that like TGL has kind of become this social epicenter of South Florida on Monday and Tuesday nights. It's just really cool to see. So many people are intrigued from all different walks of life that want to get in there and get a glimpse for themselves. People I ran into last Tuesday at TGL. I'm going to run down a list. Will Ferrell, Jimmy Tatro, Paul Skeens, Livy Dunn, Kai Trump, Dexter Fowler, Miami Dolphins players, Jeff Conine and his son, who now plays for the Marlins, are sitting right in front of us. The entire roster of the cliques from Live are sitting to the right of us. And I didn't even mention Tiger Woods' presence in there. So it's just really become such a cool event to go and see different people, celebrities out. That was one of the main takeaways I took for match 4. They were filming a movie in between all the commercial breaks. Awesome stuff. In terms of the match itself, Keep, no surprise to us or anyone who watched this show last week. We pretty much nailed it. Jupiter was just outmatched. Signed life early, went up 3-1, then lost the last 7 points of the match. They mismanaged the strategy and the hammer element, which we kind of were all over this week. It was fun to see Tiger. Still, to me, at this moment, kind of like a pinch yourself scenario when you're in the media center and asking him multiple questions. Talked about how he's progressing with his health, which was good, starting to hit short to mid irons. Still has goals and his eyes on competing in TGL this season, which was good to talk to him about as well. Also provided some great context on Brooks and his role specific to getting this thing pushed through the finish line. So a ton of stuff went on last week. Excited to see you there this week and get another match with you side by side.
Let me just dig in there a little further, right? Real quick question. And there might not be a very good answer to this, and it might be a very brief answer, but I got to ask, was Jupiter any better live than they were last year?
Early, yes. The real answer, though, is no. From about hole 5 on, they were outmatched, they were outplayed, they were outwitted. If it was Survivor, they would be voted off to TGL Island.
Yeah, I mean, and it goes to show you just can't have one weak player on your team. And I'm not going to call anybody out because everybody knows what's going on there. But I remember back in match 1 when season 2 debuted and Xander played awful. And that was a huge advantage for the Atlanta Drive in that first match. And I mean, there's only 3 guys that get to play. And if you start to get behind in triples, those hammers add up. And of course, the hammer strategy was terrible by Tiger. I mean, who throws a hammer on the first hole when you have an 8-foot birdie putt and the other team's off the green? And that is like completely missing the mark on all of it. And we all love T, but man, we got to sit him down. This Tuesday night, we got to sit him down and we got to teach him what to do with the hammer because he's just way off. If you're getting hammers declined, you are not using the hammer properly. But you got one weak player. You can see why Jupiter Links, when it comes right down to it, just isn't sitting in a great spot there on your power rankings. But I don't want to go there yet. I mean, there's a bunch of other things we could take away from the match. Do you have any other thoughts?
No. Excited to break down this week and talk more about what we saw and how that kind of moves into what we're expecting out of this next match.
Now, when you look at the golf course itself and the setup, it's been pretty standard issue stuff. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's so similar each week, and we've talked about it. They kind of run this gamut of the par 3s, par 4s, and par 5s all the same. I know we both dug into the scorecard a little bit longer of a course that we see this week. Obviously, we get the influx of a brand new hole, which made some waves on social media. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more later, and we will go into deep detail on the last hole. But your thoughts on the new Gil Hands designed 205-yard apocalyptic par 3 that they're bringing into play this week for match 5?
I mean, it's an interesting idea. I think with all of the press, the positive press, and the action that we've seen around the Stinger and how much fun the Stinger is to see the guys compete on, anything that causes them to shape shots And I know we're going to talk a lot about the last hole, the new design, when we get to the preview of the golf course, but anything that causes you to shape shots as much as this thing does, it kind of puts you in that golden tee, like A1, B3 type mode where you're spinning that ball and you're curving that thing around mountains and canyons and God knows what else. I don't want to give away what the last hole is yet if people don't know what it is, but here's my thing with the course setup. It is the same every single week, Joe. It's the same. At the turn, we get 2 back-to-back par 5s. We always start with a par 4. The order is always the same because they're trying to get every player to, in triples to tee off on a par 4, a par 3, a par 5. What if I just said, I don't care? I don't care if the middle match this week, which is what, Colin and Akshay, I don't care if they tee off on 3 par 5s and triples, right? I want to see them do some different things here. I just don't want it to be the same exact scorecard every single time when it comes to par. I don't want to see the match always end on a drivable par 4, a short par 3, and then a par 5. Like, what if it ended on a drivable par 4? And I know they've tried that like maybe once or twice all last season, but every match so far this year has basically had the same identity from a scorecard perspective and a layout perspective. So, we know that the powers that be, the tournament officials at TGL watch this show. I am begging you, right? I am pleading with you. Let's mix this thing up a little bit. I'm all for the 5-3s, the 5-4s, the 5-5s. That's fine. And I understand why you're doing it. You don't have to do it, right? There's par 70s, the par 72s on course. People love Kapalua, par 73. Back-to-back par 5s are fine, but let's just mix it up a little bit. That's what I have to, that's what I have to say about that. And what I'm wondering when we get to the power rankings, if you've mixed up anything. So let's take them to them.
Okay, power rankings are up. What do you think? First thoughts. I'll tell you right off the bat, Keith, I haven't made a single move. Now, New York Golf Club with a great performance against Jupiter last week wasn't enough. Wasn't enough to push them above LA. We're going to see how they play this Tuesday night, and maybe those two flip-flop. But off the bat, pretty similar. Your thoughts?
I was only looking for LA Golf Club, where they would be, because I think this is a key match for them. They can't go down 0-2 to start the season. They can't depend that they think they're, once Tommy shows up, once Tommy Ladd shows up, Fairway Jesus, that they're going to go on some incredible run like New York Golf Club did last year. In season 1, New York Golf Club was able to go on that run because people were still figuring it out 75% of the way through the season. These guys kind of know what they're doing. And with the amount of substitutions and everything else that's going on, things they make sense where they are. Atlanta's definitely going to be at the top. I'm still wondering if Boston's really that good. You really think Boston's that good?
Yeah, I've got them up there. I was super impressed with what they are. But one of the things that you kind of touched on there is you really nailed it, and why I'm probably somewhat reluctant to make any massive moves up or down the board at this point is this is still developing in terms of the substitutions and a roster standpoint. Akshay Bhatia will compete in his second match. He's technically still an alternate for Jupiter, which means if the other 3 guys are available to play, they have to use those 3 guys. Now, I don't really understand what the conflict would be with Tom Kim this week. I know he's playing Amex, but so is Sahith, right? So he's able to make it, but apparently Tom Kim can't. We have obviously Chris Gotterup, who as we record this is currently leading the Sony Open. He's in for ATL. He's technically a sub there. When does he get the boot? We got news this week that Ben Griffin is now an alternate for the New York Golf Club, which makes them a lot stronger. Will we see Brooks Koepka? Justin Thomas is back hitting shots. Tiger Woods is hitting shots. Will we ever see Michael Thorne Bjornsson again? There's so many unknowns here, Keith, in terms of the roster setup and variables that I think I got to let this thing play out a little further down the season before I can put these things in stone.
Folks, if you're ever wondering why Joe is the perfect choice to be the resident expert for TGL, just rewind that back for like 30 seconds. I mean, that's the way Joe talks to me about TGL all the time, whether we're in the SoFi Center or we're texting or we're on the phone or we're on a Zoom call. The guy's always fired up about it. I love it. So I don't want to hold you back. The rankings are there. They're the same as last week. Justifications, they're all appropriate, right? Let's take them to the match preview.
Let's do it.
That is Tiger at his best.
The Los Angeles Golf Club is going to tee off first. They have the honor against the Jupiter Links Golf Club. Here's your lineups there, Mr. Joe, okay? We've got Justin Rose leading off the affair. Max Homa is his partner in the first slot over there at Jupiter Links. Colin Morikawa, Akshay Bhatia, and then in the third slot, we've got Sahith Theegala versus Kevin Kisner. For the Los Angeles Golf Club, this is the same exact lineup they did in match 2 versus Boston Common. We've got a little movement over there for the Jupiter Links. First reactions to the lineups.
Well, it's also the same lineup that LA used last year in their match against Jupiter, which they won 12-1, which to this date is the largest spread of any victory in the TGL history. So interested here. One of the ones I'm really intrigued by, Keith, I kept, and I was texting you about it, and actually multiple people, but I kept a really close eye on Max Homa throughout the match, throughout warmups. To me, he looks in great physical shape. I'll start with that. He's worked a lot with Blackburn, who he talked about in the post-match press conference, and has seen a lot of positive signs coming out of that. Max averaged 336 yards on his drives the last match and hit all 3 fairways. Some quality iron shots. And more importantly, just watching him, you could tell that where he was intending for the ball to start and for the ball to finish, it was doing what he was asking of the golf ball, which is a welcome sight, I'm sure, for Max Homa after the season he had last year. So interested in that matchup between him and Rose at the top. You touched on Kiz, but it really just kind of depletes the value of what is effectively the home team in this league in Jupiter Links with having a viable chance to win. It hurts them a lot to have him in this spot. Let's be completely honest. I mean, they were up 3-1 and the guy got shot clocked last week on the putting green, which basically shifted the entire momentum of the match. So he's got to play better. Now, the one thing I'll say, he went tie on both holes with Cam Young. It's a short environment. Can Kiz make some plays? That's going to probably decide the match. If he can hang tough with Sahith or maybe steal a point, there's an opportunity here for Jupiter to potentially do something special. How can they respond on a quick turnaround? Obviously, they got boat raced in the first match they played against LA last season. So we'll see if they can bring it Tuesday night.
I happen to think that the quick turnaround is an asset for them, to be honest with you.
Agreed.
I mean, to be in there 2 weeks in a row has got to feel good. The 15 holes they're going to play on Tuesday night, they played 7 of them last week. They've also seen last year, they played 5 of them in the 15 holes they played last year. I know they got boat race 12-1, but they have some experience on these holes. Jupiter Links, one of the holes that is brand new to everyone. The last hole, the one that we're going to see in the third hole in the order of play. LAGC saw 8 of these holes when they took on Boston Common in match 2. So there's an even amount of experience when it comes to the scorecard and the layout. I just don't know where you hide Kisner. And the fact that he's going to sign up against Sahith Theegala and tee off on 2 different par 5s, really, to me, I mean, I know Kisner has to get at least 1 par 5 in, but he's also going to get one in singles, which seems like, golly, that I don't know. I just don't understand the strategy there, right? Theegala in the SoFi Center, average drive 320, Kisner 288. So the 9th hole, Showtime, which is the home hole for the LA Golf Club, is 588 yards. And then the final hole of the night, which is Sahith versus Kevin, is 592 yards. I mean, they're just going to have such a massive advantage. If Jupiter gets it to the final hole, think about the advantage that Sahith has on that par 5. I just don't know how you come back from it. And I mean, and the fact of the matter is, let's talk about the golf course a little bit.
Yeah.
And we're back over 6,000 yards this week on the scorecard. Now, last week was the shortest card we had seen yet. And we know that helps out Jupiter Links. They're the shortest team in the league. They were last year. They're probably going to be this year again. And now all of a sudden we're going up over 6,000 yards. And we have a scorecard where the 15 holes that you talk about accuracy, 63% fairway accuracy on average and 62% green and regulation average across these 15 holes. Who's going to be the more accurate team?
Well, I think the more accurate team is probably hopefully going to be Jupiter. I mean, they need it to be the more accurate team, or else they're going to have no chance in this. You mentioned, I agree with you though. It is an advantage to go back to back weeks. It is an advantage the fact that none of their players are out there grinding it out in Hawaii right now, and LA's got to fly 2 guys across the United States to get here for Tuesday night. I think these things kind of work in their favor a little bit. I believe, from my understanding, Max Homa stuck around in Florida at least for a couple of days. I saw he was playing Panther National. He was here for Tigers Gala as well. So maybe they got some additional work in at the SoFi Center. We know Batia's here local. It's tough, man, because Kisner does put them in a spot of severe disadvantage. But the one thing I'll say about Theegala is he was 0 for 3 in hitting fairways in the first match. He's a little wild off the tee. He also hit an approach shot out of bounds, I believe, on Stone and Steeple previously in the first match that they played.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
He can get a little wonky where if Kiz can kind of just keep it straight, and really the goal, I think, for him is to tie. If he can tie Theegala and let the other 2 guys kind of hold them in this match, and they're going to need a good job. But one of the things, Keith, and getting back to the lineups, I don't understand why, some of these teams don't use the course setup to their advantage when picking those 3 spots. And we know that they do this because we've talked to other teams about it. We've talked to Atlanta about it, and they told us that their team manager sets the lineup. You've got these guys who hit it extremely high playing the stinger hole. Like, I would optimize my lineup based on the holes that those guys are going to play. And I don't necessarily see that Jupiter has done a great job of that this week.
Again, hammer strategy, actual lineup card strategy. I mean, these are the things that you and I are noticing match after match that give us an edge in the SoFi Center when it comes to cash and tickets. And we just know who's paying attention to it and who isn't. And the fact of the matter is, when I rattled off those stats before, you've got fairways and greens regulation down in the low 60 percentile. You better be able to scramble. And who's the better team that can scramble? Los Angeles. Now, here's the thing. Jupiter was not very accurate last year. Right now, after their first match, they were very accurate, 90% of their fairways, they had like 87% of their greens. So, like, if they've turned over a new leaf there, then that is a very, very good sign for them. They went up 2-0. I love the travel talk. It's 4,800 miles from Honolulu over there to Palm Beach Gardens. Granted, Morikawa's had all weekend to get there, which could be good and bad. Could be good and bad, right? From a confidence point of view, maybe not good, but he's had more time. But Sahith's, he's pulling out of there 5 hours behind. He's got to go 4,800 miles, play on Tuesday night. Then he's going to go back out to the Amex. There's a lot going on there. So Jupiter does have a couple things lined up well for them. Talk to me about the new hole, the last hole. I think this is a good opportunity to bring this up because when it debuted, the essence of what's going on there, and you're right, you have to design your lineup around like who's hitting the tee shot on Stinger. It's just that simple. You can see that Jupiter moved their lineup around because they want Akshay hitting that tee shot. And I think that that's a good move on their part. Tell me what's going on with the last hole. Gil Hans's design here. Maybe it's it's a tribute to the Golden Gate Bridge, to San Francisco, to a memorial to Bob Weir. I don't know. He's a huge Grateful Dead guy, but break it down for me.
Par 3 can play up to 240 yards. I believe they're going to have it right at 205 this week, so it's a little bit shorter. From my understanding, and I still haven't seen this thing live, so I'll be interested to see it with my own 2 eyes and see the strategies that can possibly be maneuvered. But it looks like, you see it there if you're watching on screen, there's a gap in that bridge between the top overhang and where the road would be. And you got to kind of hit that window. And you need to hit it straight. I don't want a guy that's going to work a golf ball here necessarily, because I think it opens up a lot of possibilities. Now, you could go right or left, but I think you want a guy that hits it straight right through the middle of that gap. And, we'll see how accurate the tech is in terms of whether it's hitting those poles or not. I know the Lone Pine hole, I felt a couple times, Keith, like it maybe should have hit the tree when it didn't, but the Stinger's been super accurate. So you got to hit it through that hole. Sahith moves the ball a lot, man. I don't love him taking that shot, to be completely frank with you. I might even give a slight advantage to Kiz here if he can hit something low and sting it in there. So we'll see what the odds are for that particular hole. But from my understanding and my knowledge of it, Kisner's going to be an underdog on this hole, and I might like him to take this down depending on what the odds come out at. What are your thoughts on this wild design?
So I had a tough time understanding when
Me
I
too.
had read through all the notes, and then I was looking at it. I said, "All right, I get it. They got to hit it through this box that's straight out in front of them. They've got to hit a shot that's going to carry somewhere in the ballpark of 210 to like 230 yards, and then all of a sudden they're playing it at 205, whatever that may be, right?" But from my understanding and the officials I talked to at TGL, that the green is basically behind the right stanchion, the right pole. So when it goes through that hole, it has to have a little bit of left to right movement on the golf ball. Now,
Okay.
100%, like this is what I'm being told. I need to see it, and you need to see it. We need to see what happens when these guys hit the shots and when the shot tracer goes through. But that's what I'm being told. Kisner being, first of all, he's going to be hitting a much longer club and a notorious drawer of the golf ball versus Saiz being a much more modern player who's going to be hitting, he's probably going to be hitting like a 6-iron through that window. Probably easier for him to bleed it a little bit more. He definitely bleeds his long irons left to right. Both those guys are right-handed players. So, I mean, you know the way I feel about Cenote, right? You can't predict the way the ball is going to roll off the ramp. So I don't bet that hole because it just doesn't make any sense. It's like it's roulette. Just put the ball in and spin it, right?
Yeah.
So for this, it's going to be very interesting how much, because the guys are accurate enough to hit it through the window, but then where does the ball end up? We have to see this a couple times before we go after it live. But I might give the edge to the modern player in this sense in Sahith, just because shorter club, a little bit of left to right action, and Kiz loves to move it the opposite way. But you've got that situation there. I talked about the par fives between, the tee shots between those two. Now you've got Stinger, which I know that you've handicapped back-to-back weeks perfectly, right? We've gained over 6-1 in profit in the last 2 weeks on Stinger and head-to-head matchups. And now you've got Akshay versus Colin. How do you feel about Stinger this week? Now, I don't want to steal your thunder. If you're not ready yet, we'll save it for the video on Tuesday night. But if you have any early leans there, I'm just interested because you've got this hole nailed down.
I'm leaning Akshay. The odds are not out yet, so it's hard for me to really make a pick, but I'm always going to gravitate towards Stinger. And here's the reason why. If you look at the hole-by-hole breakdowns at the sports book, there's a huge margin in terms of what they believe to be the most probable outcome being a tie on a hole, which is what almost every hole is on TGL. The most probable outcome is a tie, right? So you're getting plus 275, plus 300 if you want to take an individual player. Those aren't great odds on a par 4 or a par 3. On Stinger, the books haven't caught on yet, and we have, Keith, because 3 out of the 4 times it's been played, somebody's won that hole. So it's a small sample size, but 75% of the time so far, somebody has won that golf hole that it's been played, and you're getting 3-1 odds on basically either player. So we'll look and see if they've made any adjustment, but we've been hammering this advantage spot here. And I plan to do it again on Tuesday night as long as these stay similar. Tie is not the majority, not on Stinger. Like you said, we're up 6 units or plus 600 just in the last 2 weeks alone. My favorite hole, like you mentioned, stay tuned to our video that's going to come out live from the turf on Tuesday before the match. And if it's being priced like it has been, we'll have some action for you.
All right, well, we can't get to the prop bets till then because those markets don't open up till the day of, the afternoon of, the evening of sometimes. I mean, we're always scrambling, getting the numbers last minute. But what we do know right now, FanDuel odds, Sportsbook, LAGC, minus 188. Oh, it's brutal. And you've got Jupiter Links Golf Club, plus 150. I need your pick. Who are you taking? I mean, I'm sure it's fairly obvious, but maybe – I assume you're going to go with LA, but if you do, try to give me some other things that you might be looking at besides the head-to-head on Stinger, where our areas. Give me like one extra prop bet that you might try to compound your winning tickets come Tuesday night.
Yes. So I'm not going to take 188 for the full match. I'm going to look to isolate LA in shorter term markets. So first 3 holes, first 6, first 9 holes. I know you like to attack those a lot because you're getting much better odds on that. Now you increase a little bit of volatility there, but I think they're severely the better team in this matchup. But I'll tell you what, man, if we see the movement, I hate to just come on here every week and just pick the favorite. I know you feel the same, Keith.
Oh, yeah.
If we see the movement that we've seen the last couple of weeks where this line shifts 30, 40, 50, 60 points like we saw last week, if we get Jupiter at 2-1 or more, I might take a chance on them. It's still just 15 holes. It's still just simulator golf. Look, I have Justin Rose and Max Homa relatively close, especially after what I saw to Max last week. I think Akshay is a huge plus for Jupiter, especially now getting his second match. He's a great approach player, one of the best in the PGA Tour in 2025. Actually had a better year on approach than Colin Morikawa. If Kisner can just hold on against Sahith in that final match, you never know. Look, we saw this spot last year where nobody gave Jupiter a chance and they came out and stole one against Boston. If they're going to win one this year, I mean, this is as good of a scenario as you could imagine, right? Two players coming from Hawaii, all three of their players on back-to-back weeks who've stayed around. This has got to be the one, but I need a little bit more juice.
I tell you what, if we get more juice, then I'm going to walk right across in the practice time. I'm going to walk right across the SoFi turf, and I'm going to take the orange flag away from Tiger. He's not allowed to use it.
I don't think he's allowed to throw it anymore. I think they told him he can't throw it because he's not a member.
Not only that, but like, can one of us go out there and manage the shot clock for them?
Put him up with Matt Berry. Put Tiger up with Matt Berry. That's where he needs to be.
Exactly. And the only team that's had 2 shot clock violations is the Jupiter Lynx.
You have timeouts, guys. You have timeouts.
And they wonder why they don't win. But here's the thing. I love the intervals that happen every 3, mainly because it's Sahith versus Kisner in that third key match. So the lead after 6, the lead after 9. If you just want to go all the way through for triples, certainly LA they have better golfers through 1, 2, and 3. And when you have to use all 3 golfers on each hole, it gets to a point where like that 1 weak link starts to cost you a point here or there. And then, when it comes down to the singles, if those players are better and they're proven to be better. Now, hey, I hear you. I wasn't there to see Max Homa, but he did look impressive on TV. If Max is back, but he didn't have a good year last year. Correct. And the only guy that had a bad year on LA was Sahith, but he was injured. When he was playing TGL, he was really, really good, and he seemed comfortable in there. And the short game the stylings are really nice around that green zone. So certainly the match, we want to watch what happens there. If the minute you see this and you want to bet LA, I would bet LA right as soon as you see it. And you see anything, if you see anything lower than minus 180, then you need to bet LA because it's probably just going to continue to go up. I wouldn't be surprised if it's minus 200 by the time that they tee off. By the time Rose hits the tee shot there to start the match at 7 p.m. there on ESPN on Tuesday night. So I'm with LA. I'm with, compounding the structure just like you. And we'll put out a video, about half an hour before the match gets going, because that's when we'll have our numbers. That's we'll be inside, and I've seen warm-ups live, and that's what Joe and I do. I mean, this is the TGL, folks. This is the TGL show. Joe and I are here week after week breaking down every match. Right now, we only have 1 match at a time, but in a couple of weeks, we're going to have 3 matches in a week, 4 matches in a week. It's going to be a lot of fun. We appreciate you sticking with us. Joe, any closing words?
Yeah, I apologize for getting a little animated tonight, Keith, if I was a little loud on the mic, but I get fired up when it comes to TGL. Thanks for having me again. Appreciate everyone out there for checking out the show. Make sure to subscribe to the Read the Line channel. Give us a comment. Tell us who you like this week. Maybe a prop bet. We always like to look through there and see those. Excited to be back here next week. Who do we got? Boston in the Bay?
Boston in the Bay, 7 p.m., but it's Monday night next week, not Tuesday, Monday night. And speaking of Monday nights, the most humble man in all of golf wagering on the internet, Mr. Joe Idone, he is joined by the one, the only PGA John Hasselbauer. He and Tout co-hosts Preferred Lines podcast, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. You don't even bring it up, Joe. You're too good a guy. You're too good a guy. I got to bring it up for you. I'm going to tell everybody 8:30. You guys own that slot on Monday nights, 8:30 p.m. Breakdown of the outright board, everything that's going on in golf for about 15 minutes. And then they go into 45 minutes of just like complete analysis of between the golf course, the design, the architecture, the agronomy, the outrights, the odds board, all of the above. Can't thank you and John enough for all the research you guys put into that show. Preferred Lines, check it out if you haven't seen it. Or I know a lot of people that know you. They set their week by that. They set their card by that. They get their early leans from that. That's what I do. But hey, you know what? If you don't, folks, and you're new to this and you're a TGL fan and you're just crossing over to golf betting, you got to check out these guys on a Monday night. And you know what? We'll be back next Monday previewing match 6, which happens on Monday night. I mean, it's a quick turnaround for us. Almost like a Thursday NFL game, you and I, we're getting slated really quick. Season is just, it's been fantastic. Thank you all for watching. Thanks to Golf Space Collective, our producers, everyone at TGL. all the time. I know you all are watching. We appreciate all the support. You guys are fantastic. Thank you for all the access and the information. And hey, I'm your host, Keith Stewart. That's Joe Idone. Peace.
Peace.